A woman stands alone at the altar, her heart breaking as the man she loves whispers loud enough for everyone to hear. "I can't marry a whale." Humiliated, she runs from the church in her torn wedding dress, until roaring engines surround her on a lonely desert road. Out of the dust steps a man covered in tattoos and scars, the leader of a feared biker gang. Everyone stares as he looks her in the eye and growls, "She's not trash, she's mine now." But what starts as a shocking rescue turns into something far deeper. Behind his cold stare hides a wounded soul searching for redemption. And behind her tears lies a strength that could change everything. As the town turns against them, secrets from his past threaten to destroy them both. When love is born between two broken hearts on opposite sides of the law, can faith and courage rewrite their story? Or will the ghosts of his past ride back to claim them? Drop a comment below and share which part of the world you're tuning in from today. If you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to subscribe for more. The scorching Arizona sun beat down mercilessly on St. Mark's Chapel, its white stucco walls almost blinding in the afternoon light. Inside, the air conditioning hummed steadily, but Samantha Sam Boyd could still feel beads of sweat rolling down her back beneath the snug lace wedding dress. The fabric pulled uncomfortably across her curves as she stood at the altar, trying to steady her breathing. Behind her, whispers rustled through the pews like dry desert wind through tumbleweeds. Sam forced herself to keep her eyes forward, fixed on the delicate arrangement of white roses and baby's breath on the altar. But she couldn't help noticing how Trent shifted from foot to foot, his perfect smile looking strained around the edges. Pastor John Miller's gentle voice filled the chapel. "Do you, Trent Larson, take Samantha Boyd to be your lawfully wedded wife?" The silence that followed stretched longer than it should have. Sam's heart began to pound harder against her ribs. She glanced at Trent, seeing the muscle working in his jaw, the way his throat bobbed as he swallowed hard. Trent's voice cracked. He cleared his throat and tried again, louder this time. "I can't do this." His words echoed off the chapel walls. "I can't marry a whale!" The gasps that erupted from the wedding guests seemed to suck all the air from the room. Sam felt the blood drain from her face as the cruel words registered. Her hands began to tremble, the small bouquet of roses shaking visibly. In the front pew, her mother made a choked sound and buried her face in her hands. Sam could see her shoulders shaking. The rest of the guests sat frozen, their faces a blur of shock and second-hand embarrassment. Some looked away, unable to meet her eyes. Others stared openly, their expressions a mix of pity and morbid fascination. The tears came hot and fast, blurring Sam's vision. She couldn't breathe. The lace collar of her dress felt like it was choking her. Without thinking, she gathered up her skirts and ran. Her feet carried her down the aisle she'd walked up so hopefully just minutes before, past the rows of stunned faces, past the just married banner that now seemed to mock her. She burst through the chapel doors into the blazing afternoon sun. The heat hit her like a physical blow, but she didn't slow down. Her white heels clicked against the pavement as she ran to her old Chevy, fumbling with the keys through her tears. The engine coughed to life, and Sam pulled out of the parking lot with a spray of gravel. She had no destination in mind, anywhere but here. The tears flowing down her cheeks made it hard to see, but she kept driving, leaving St. Mark's Chapel and Trent's cruel words behind. Time seemed to blur as the desert landscape rushed past her windows. The sun began its descent toward the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Sam drove until her old car started making worrying sounds, the engine sputtering and coughing. No, 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 she pleaded, but the car had reached its limit. It rolled to a stop on the shoulder of the dusty highway, steam rising from under the hood. Sam tried the key again, but the engine only made a sad, clicking sound. She reached for her phone, only to find it dead. She'd forgotten to charge it in all the wedding day chaos. Looking down at herself, she realized what a mess she was. The beautiful lace dress was wrinkled and stained with sweat and tears. Her heels had snapped somewhere along the way, the delicate straps giving out under the strain of her running. Sam got out of the car, wincing as her bare feet touched the hot asphalt. She made her way to the edge of the road and sank down, not caring about what the dust would do to her dress. The sun was setting now, casting long shadows across the desert. "Please, God," she whispered, her voice hoarse from crying. "I know I haven't talked to you much lately, but I'm talking now. Please, please take me anywhere but back there. I can't face them. I can't—" Her words trailed off into fresh sobs. The desert seemed to absorb her tears, as vast and indifferent as the sky above. As the light faded, the temperature began to drop, making her shiver in her sweat-dampened dress. In the growing darkness, a new sound reached her ears, the low, distant rumble of motorcycles. The sound grew steadily louder, and Sam could see headlights appearing on the horizon. For a moment, she considered trying to hide. But where could she go? There was nothing but desert scrub and cacti for miles around. The rumbling grew closer, the sound echoing off the empty highway. Sam wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly very aware of how vulnerable she was, alone on a desert highway at dusk, wearing a wedding dress with no working phone and no way to call for help. The motorcycle engines grew louder and louder, their headlights cutting through the gathering darkness like searching eyes. Sam's heart began to race again, but this time with fear rather than humiliation. The sound of the approaching bikes filled the air, drowning out even the whisper of the desert wind. The desert darkness fell quickly, transforming the familiar landscape into something alien and threatening. The rumble of motorcycles grew louder until it filled the air completely, drowning out even Sam's ragged breathing. Headlights pierced the gloom, illuminating her tear-stained face and bedraggled wedding dress in harsh relief. One by one, the motorcycles surrounded her broken-down Chevy, their chrome gleaming in the fading light. The riders were imposing figures, their leather vests emblazoned with the distinctive death's head patches of the Hells Angels. Tattoos covered their arms, and their faces were weathered by sun and wind. The sight of them made Sam's throat go dry with fear. "Well, what do we have here?" one of them called out, his voice rough with amusement. "Looks like somebody left their pretty little bride at the altar." Cruel laughter rippled through the group. Sam wrapped her arms around herself, clutching her wilted bouquet like a shield. The roses had long since begun to droop, their petals falling to the dusty ground at her feet. "Hey, roadkill bride," another biker shouted. "Did Prince Charming get cold feet?" More laughter followed, but it died abruptly as the largest bike, a gleaming black Harley-Davidson, pulled up to the front of the group. Its rider dismounted with fluid grace that seemed at odds with his massive frame. Even in the growing darkness, Sam could see he was different from the others. There was a military bearing to his posture, a controlled power in his movements. The man stepped into the glow of the headlights, and Sam's breath caught. He stood well over 6 feet tall, his broad shoulders stretching the leather of his vest. A jagged scar ran across his jaw, pale against his tanned skin. His eyes, when they met hers, were a startling shade of blue, cold as winter but somehow not unkind. "That's enough," he said, his voice a low growl that carried natural authority. The other bikers fell silent immediately. He approached Sam slowly, as if trying not to frighten her. Up close, she could see the name patch on his vest. Jace Hollister, President. The moonlight caught the silver in his dark hair at the temples, and something in his expression made her think he'd seen more than his share of pain. "You're shivering," he observed quietly. Before Sam could respond, he shrugged off his leather jacket. The movement revealed muscled arms covered in military tattoos, not the typical biker artwork, but unit insignias and memorial dates. With surprising gentleness, he draped the jacket over her shoulders. The leather was warm from his body and smelled of tobacco and motor oil. "She's not trash," he announced to his men, his voice carrying steel beneath its quiet tone. "She's mine now." The declaration hung in the air, heavy with meaning. The other bikers straightened up, their mocking expressions replaced by something like respect, or perhaps fear. Sam noticed how they deferred to him, how their eyes dropped when he looked their way. Jace turned back to her, and his voice softened slightly. "Got water in my saddlebag. When's the last time you had something to drink?" Sam tried to remember, but the day had become a blur of tears and humiliation. I don't know," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. He moved to his bike and retrieved a bottle of water, cracking it open before holding it out to her. "Small sips," he advised. "You're probably dehydrated." The water was lukewarm, but felt like heaven on her parched throat. She hadn't realized how thirsty she was until that first sip hit her tongue. As she drank, Jace studied her broken-down car. "Radiator's shot," he pronounced after a brief inspection. "You won't be getting far in that tonight." "I don't even know where I was going," Sam admitted, wrapping his jacket tighter around herself. The desert night had turned cold, and the leather provided welcome warmth. Jace nodded as if this made perfect sense to him. "Sometimes anywhere is better than where you've been." He paused, then asked, "You got someone you can call?" Sam shook her head, feeling fresh tears threaten. "My phone's dead, and honestly, I can't." She couldn't finish the sentence, but Jace seemed to understand. "I can get you somewhere safe," he offered, his voice matter of fact. "No strings, no questions, just a ride to wherever you need to go." Sam looked at the massive motorcycle, then at the man offering her help. Common sense told her not to trust strangers, especially not a group of bikers she'd met on a dark highway. But something in Jace's steady gaze made her feel safer than she had all day. "Okay," she whispered, nodding slowly. "Thank you." Jace helped her to her feet, his large hand gentle but steady under her elbow. The other bikers watched in silence as he led her to his motorcycle. She'd never ridden one before, and the machine looked intimidating in the moonlight. "Hold on to me," he instructed as he helped her settle behind him. "Don't be shy about it. Rather have you grip too tight than fall off." Sam wrapped her arms around his waist, feeling the solid warmth of him through his shirt. The motorcycle roared to life beneath them, the vibration traveling up through her body. As they pulled away, she glanced back at her car, watching it grow smaller in the gathering darkness. The bouquet lay forgotten in the dust, white petals scattered by the wind of their passing. The other motorcycles fell in behind them, their headlights creating a convoy of stars in the desert night. The wind whipped at Sam's hair and dress, but Jace's jacket kept her warm. She found herself holding on tighter as they accelerated, not entirely from fear anymore. The broken-down Chevy disappeared, into the distance, along with the remnants of her wedding day. Sam watched it fade away, realizing that sometimes the end of one road could be the beginning of another. The desert stretched endless and dark around them, but for the first time since she'd fled the chapel, she felt something besides despair. A tiny spark of hope, fragile as a flower in the desert, but alive. The motorcycle convoy rumbled down a winding dirt road, kicking up clouds of dust in their wake. After about 10 miles of riding through the desert darkness, they approached a modest ranch property set back from the main highway. A weathered wooden sign reading Hollister Ranch creaked gently in the night breeze. The headlights swept across a traditional red barn, its paint faded but still warm and welcoming in the moonlight. Several chickens, disturbed by the noise, clucked sleepily in their coop nearby. The main house was a single-story ranch-style home with a wide wraparound porch and soft yellow light glowing from within. As they pulled up to the house, Sam caught the faint aroma of coffee drifting from the kitchen window. The scent felt somehow comforting, like a reminder that normal, peaceful things still existed after the chaos of her day. The other bikers peeled away, their engines growing distant as Jace helped Sam off the motorcycle. Her legs felt wobbly from the long ride, and she stumbled slightly. His strong hands steadied her, then quickly withdrew. "Watch your step," he murmured, leading her up the porch stairs. "These boards can be tricky in the dark." Before he could reach for his keys, the front door opened. A small figure stood in the doorway, a little girl in pink pajamas decorated with unicorns, her long, dark hair falling in messy braids. "Uncle Jace?" she called out uncertainly, rubbing sleep from her eyes. Then she noticed Sam, and her eyes widened. "Who's that?" "This is Sam," Jace said quietly. "She needed a place to stay tonight. Sam, this is my niece, Lily." "Hi, Lily," Sam managed, trying to smile despite her exhaustion and smeared makeup. "I'm sorry if we woke you up." Lily studied her with the frank curiosity of childhood. "You're wearing a wedding dress," she observed. "Are you a princess?" Sam felt her throat tighten. "No, sweetheart, just someone who needed help." "Mrs. Martinez next door is watching her," Jace explained, ushering them inside. "I'll go let her know I'm back. Lily, show Sam to the guest room, okay?" The interior of the house was neat but lived in, with comfortable furniture and family photos on the walls. Lily took Sam's hand without hesitation, leading her down a hallway decorated with children's artwork. "This is your room," she announced, pushing open a door to reveal a simple but clean bedroom. "Uncle Jace's mom used to sleep here before she went to heaven. But don't worry, we washed everything." Sam's heart squeezed at the child's matter-of-fact mention of loss. "Thank you, Lily. That's very kind of you." After, Lily said goodnight. Sam sank onto the bed, still wrapped in Jace's leather jacket. She heard his heavy boots on the porch, then quiet voices as he spoke to the neighbor. Eventually, the house settled into silence. Someone, probably Lily, had left a clean blanket folded at the foot of the bed. Sam wrapped herself in it, breathing in the fresh laundry smell. Despite the strangeness of her situation, exhaustion pulled her under quickly. She woke to gentle knocking and sunlight streaming through lace curtains. For a moment, she was disoriented. Then yesterday's events came rushing back. "Come in," she called softly. Lily poked her head around the door, already dressed in jeans and a butterfly t-shirt. "I made pancakes," she announced proudly. "Well, Uncle Jace helped with the stove part, but I stirred." Sam couldn't help smiling at her enthusiasm. "That sounds wonderful. Let me just freshen up a bit?" Lily nodded. "There's a bathroom across the hall. I put out a clean towel and some of Uncle Jace's mom's old clothes. They might fit better than the wedding dress." In the bathroom, Sam splashed cold water on her face and changed into the offered clothes, simple jeans and a flowered blouse that was loose and comfortable. When she emerged, the smell of coffee and pancakes drew her to the kitchen. Jace was already gone, but through the window she could see him in the distance, fixing a section of fence. He'd changed into work clothes, worn jeans and a faded t-shirt that showed the strength in his shoulders as he worked. He seemed determined not to look toward the house. "He's always busy," Lily commented, following Sam's gaze as she set out plates. "But he says honest work keeps the devils away. I don't really know what that means." Sam helped Lily serve the pancakes, touched by how carefully the little girl had arranged everything. They ate together, Lily chattering about school and her art projects while Sam listened, grateful for the child's easy acceptance. Later, after Lily left for school with the neighbor's kids, Sam found herself at loose ends. The kitchen needed cleaning, so she started there, wanting to repay some small part of the kindness she'd been shown. She was elbow-deep in dishwater when Jace came in for water. He paused in the doorway, seeming unsure. "You don't have to do that," he said gruffly. "I want to," Sam replied, not meeting his eyes. "It's the least I can do." He filled his water bottle slowly. "You can stay," he said finally, "until you figure things out. No rush." The words were awkward, but sincere. Sam nodded, throat tight with gratitude. "Thank you." Throughout the day, they moved around each other carefully, sharing space but few words. Sam cleaned and organized, finding comfort in the simple tasks. Jace worked outside, coming in occasionally for water or tools. Sometimes their eyes would meet, and they'd share small, uncertain smiles before looking away. When evening came, Lily returned from school full of stories about her day. Sam helped her with homework while dinner cooked, a simple meal of chicken and vegetables she'd found in the fridge. When they gathered at the table, she hesitated, then folded her hands. "Would it be okay if I said grace?" she asked softly. Jace looked startled but nodded. Lily immediately folded her hands, following Sam's lead. "Dear Lord," Sam began, her voice quiet but steady. "Thank you for this food, and for bringing me to this safe place when I needed it most. Thank you for Lily's welcome, and for Mr. Hollister's kindness. Please bless this meal and this home. Amen." When she opened her eyes, Jace was staring at his plate, his expression unreadable. "Ain't heard anyone thank God at this table in a long time," he muttered finally. They ate in companionable silence, broken only by Lily's cheerful chatter. After dinner, Sam stood at the kitchen window, watching as the first drops of rain began to fall. The soft tapping against the glass felt like nature's lullaby, washing away the dust and perhaps bringing something new in its wake. The desert rain was gentle but steady, a rare blessing in the parched landscape. Sam wrapped her arms around herself, remembering yesterday's heat and despair. So much had changed in 24 hours. Her heart still ached, but somehow, in this unlikely place with these unexpected people, she felt the first stirrings of peace. The days flowed together like honey, sweet and slow. Sam found herself falling into an easy rhythm at the ranch, waking each morning to Lily's cheerful chatter and the distant sound of Jace working outside. The wedding dress lay forgotten in a box under her bed, along with the memories of that terrible day. The garden became her sanctuary. She spent hours pulling weeds and nurturing the vegetables that had been struggling in the desert heat. Her mother had always said she had a green thumb, and now those skills gave her purpose. Under her care, the tomato plants perked up, and the herbs flourished in their neat rows. "Look!" Lily exclaimed one morning, pointing at the first tiny green tomatoes. "You made them happy?" Sam smiled, wiping sweat from her forehead. Sometimes things just need a little love and attention to grow. Lily helped her in the garden most afternoons after school, chattering about her day while they worked. The little girl's presence was like sunshine, warming places in Sam's heart she thought had frozen solid. From the corner of her eye, she often caught Jace watching them. He never said much, but she noticed how his expression softened when Lily laughed. Sometimes, when their eyes met across the yard, he'd give her a small nod of acknowledgement before returning to his work. One particularly hot afternoon, Sam was teaching Lily how to make lemonade when they heard the crunch of tires on gravel. A white sheriff's truck pulled up, dust billowing behind it. Sam's heart skipped as she watched Sheriff Dan Holt step out, his badge glinting in the high sunlight. "Lily, honey," Sam said quietly, "why don't you go work on your homework?" The little girl looked uncertain, but nodded, slipping away just as Jace emerged from the barn. His posture was tense as he approached the sheriff. Sam moved to the screen door, telling herself she shouldn't eavesdrop, but unable to help herself. The sheriff's voice carried clearly in the still air. "Afternoon, Hollister," Sheriff Holt said, removing his sunglasses. "Got some questions about your old friends in the Angels." Jace's voice was controlled. "I told you before, Dan. I'm out of that life." "Funny thing about that," the sheriff continued, pulling out a notebook. "We had a robbery last week. Sporting goods store, bunch of firearms missing. And wouldn't you know it, witnesses saw bikes. Not my problem anymore." Jace crossed his arms. "I haven't ridden with them in months." "No?" Sheriff Holt's tone was skeptical. "Because I got reports of you picking up strays on the highway." His eyes flicked toward the house, and Sam stepped back from the door, her face burning. "Leave her out of this," Jace growled. "She needed help, that's all. Just like you needed help when you came back from Afghanistan. Look how well that turned out." The sheriff's words dripped with sarcasm. "The Angels took you in, and next thing we knew, there was trouble all over the county." "That was then," Jace said firmly. "I'm trying to do right by Lily now. You know that." "Sure." Sheriff Holt tucked away his notebook. "But just so we're clear, you're still on our radar. One wrong move and Child Services might need to reevaluate your custody arrangement." Sam's hand flew to her mouth. Through the screen, she saw Jace's shoulders stiffen. "Are we done?" he asked, his voice dangerously quiet. The sheriff tipped his hat with a smirk. "For now. But watch yourself, Hollister, and maybe warn your houseguest about the company she's keeping." After the sheriff's truck disappeared down the road, Jace stood motionless in the yard for a long moment. When he finally turned toward the house, his eyes met Sam's through the screen. She didn't try to hide that she'd been listening. The rest of the afternoon passed in uncomfortable silence. Sam's mind raced with questions and doubts. Was she putting herself in danger by staying here? What had Jace done with the Angels that made the sheriff so suspicious? After Lily went to bed that night, Sam found Jace sitting by the fireplace, staring into the flames. She hesitated in the doorway until he looked up. "You want answers," he said. It wasn't a question. Sam sat in the chair opposite him, gathering her courage. "I need to know if I'm safe here." Jace was quiet for so long, she thought he wouldn't respond. When he finally spoke, his voice was rough with emotion. "When I came back from Afghanistan, I was broken. Couldn't sleep. Couldn't trust anyone. The Angels, they offered brotherhood when I needed it most." He rubbed his scarred jaw. "I did things I'm not proud of. Never killed anyone, but I helped with some robberies. Ran protection rackets. It seemed justified at the time. Us against the world." Sam listened, her heart pounding but her face calm. "Then my sister overdosed," he continued. "Left Lily with nothing but a note asking me to take care of her. That's when I knew I had to change. Can't raise a kid right with one foot in the darkness." "The sheriff doesn't believe you've changed," Sam said softly. "The sheriff," Jace's lip curled, "has his own agenda. But I swear to you, Sam, I'm done with that life. Everything I do now is for Lily, and I'd never let anyone hurt you while you're under my roof." She studied his face in the firelight, searching for any sign of deception. All she saw was raw honesty and determination. "I believe you," she whispered. Relief flickered across his features. They sat in companionable silence after that, listening to the crickets chirping outside and watching the flames dance. Neither spoke of tomorrow or what challenges it might bring. For now, it was enough to share this moment of truth and tentative trust. The fire slowly died down to embers, casting soft shadows on the walls. Through the window, stars twinkled in the desert sky, unchanging and eternal. Whatever uncertainties lay ahead, Sam felt oddly at peace. Sometimes, she was learning, safety could be found in the most unexpected places. The morning sun painted the desert sky in shades of pink and gold as Sam helped Jace load wooden crates of fresh eggs and honey jars into his old pickup truck. Lily bounced excitedly in the cab, clutching a handmade sign she'd decorated with bees and flowers for their farmer's market stall. "Are you sure about this?" Sam asked, smoothing her simple cotton dress. It was the first time she'd venture into town since the wedding disaster. "People gonna talk no matter what," Jace replied, closing the tailgate with a solid thunk. "Might as well give him something worth talking about." The Saguaro Ridge Farmers Market sprawled across the town square, a collection of colorful tents and tables beneath the shade of ancient mesquite trees. As they set up their booth, Sam felt the weight of curious stares and heard the not-so-subtle whispers. "Isn't that the runaway bride? Living with that Hollister fellow now? The biker and the fat bride." Sam's cheeks burned, but she kept arranging their display with steady hands. Lily helped by tying ribbons around the honey jars, humming softly to herself. "Your honey looks wonderful," an elderly woman said, approaching their booth. She studied the golden jars with genuine interest. "My Harold used to keep bees before he passed." "Would you like to try some?" Sam offered warmly. "Jace's mother started these hives years ago." As the morning progressed, more customers stopped by. Some were drawn by curiosity, others by the quality of their goods. Sam found herself relaxing, sharing recipes and swapping stories with the locals who seemed more interested in connection than gossip. Then she heard his voice. "Well, well, quite the career change, Samantha." Trent stood there in his designer workout clothes, a protein shake in hand, and that familiar smirk on his face. His gym buddies flanked him, snickering. "From jilted bride to shacking up with criminals," he continued loudly. "Really scraping the bottom of the barrel, aren't you?" Sam's throat tightened. She felt Lily press against her side, small fingers gripping her dress. Before she could respond, Jace's shadow fell across their booth. He moved with deliberate calm, positioning himself between Sam and Trent. His presence seemed to fill the entire space. "Problem here?" Jace asked quietly. The question carried weight despite its softness. Trent's smirk faltered slightly. "Just catching up with my ex, telling her how far she's fallen." "Fallen?" Jace's eyebrow raised. "Way I see it, she's risen above the garbage that tried to break her." He took one step forward, and Trent instinctively stepped back. "She's worth 10 of you." The market had gone silent. Everyone watched as Trent's face reddened. "Whatever," he muttered, trying to save face. "You deserve each other." He turned and walked away quickly, his friends trailing behind. Sam released a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. "Thank you," she whispered. Jace just nodded, returning to his task of restocking their table. But word of the confrontation spread through the market like wildfire. By closing time, their honey and eggs had sold out completely. That evening, Sam stood in the ranch's kitchen, chopping vegetables while an old pot of chili simmered on the stove. She'd found the recipe card tucked in Jace's mother's cookbook, the edges worn and spotted with use. "Smells just like Mom's," Jace said from the doorway, surprising her. He rarely commented on her cooking. "I hope I'm doing it justice," Sam replied, adding a pinch of cumin. The card was a little faded. You added carrots, though. Mom never did that. Sam froze. Oh, I'm sorry. I just thought... It's good, he interrupted. Different, but good. Like a lot of changes around here lately. Their eyes met, and suddenly Sam was laughing. The tension from the market, the absurdity of her new life, the unexpected kindness of this rough man. It all bubbled up in genuine mirth. To her amazement, Jace joined in, his deep chuckle filling the kitchen. Lily appeared, drawn by the unusual sound. What's funny? Life, sweetheart, Sam said, wiping her eyes. Sometimes life is funny. Later that night, after dishes were cleared and Lily was tucked in bed, Sam sat cross-legged on her bed with her journal open. The pages had become her confidant these past weeks, holding her fears, hopes, and growing realizations. Dear God, she wrote, I never thought I'd say this, but thank you for my humiliation. Thank you for the worst day of my life, because it led me here. To this strange, beautiful place of healing. To these broken people who are helping me see my own worth. Maybe sometimes our greatest pain becomes our greatest blessing. She closed the journal and switched off the lamp, falling asleep to the gentle desert breeze through her window. The next morning, Sam woke before dawn. She moved quietly through the kitchen, mixing dough for cinnamon rolls. As the sweet scent filled the house, she packed them carefully into boxes. Jace found her on the porch, surrounded by baking containers. What's all this? For the kids in the trailer park down the road, she explained. I see them playing sometimes, looking hungry. I thought... She trailed off, suddenly uncertain. But Jace wasn't mocking her. He leaned against the porch railing, watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. The rising sun caught the silver in his hair, softening his usual hardness. You're changing things, he said finally. This place, us. Is that okay? She asked softly. He nodded slowly, his eyes following a hawk circling overhead. Yeah, it is. Sam gathered her boxes, heading toward her mission of kindness, while Jace remained on the porch. She could feel his gaze following her, protective and wondering as she walked down the dusty drive. Something was shifting between them, as gentle and unstoppable as the desert dawn. The idea started small, like most things that change lives do. Sam noticed more hungry faces in town, more tired eyes, more parents trying to stretch dollars that wouldn't stretch. One Sunday morning, while kneading bread dough in the ranch kitchen, she turned to Jace. What if we did more than just baking? She asked, flour dusting her arms. What if we made real meals for people? Jace looked up from his coffee, studying her face. You mean like a soup kitchen? Sort of, but here, every Sunday. Sam's hands kept working the dough as she spoke. We've got this big kitchen, the garden's producing more than we can eat, and there are so many families struggling. Lily, perched on a kitchen stool, swung her legs excitedly. Can I help too, Uncle Jace? Please? Something softened in Jace's expression as he looked between them. Gonna need more pots, he said finally. And just like that, their Sunday meals began. Sam would rise before dawn, filling the kitchen with the smell of fresh bread and simmering stews. Jace quietly bought extra chairs, setting up tables in the barn when the kitchen couldn't hold everyone. Lily appointed herself official greeter, making each guest feel welcome with her gap-toothed smile. Word spread through the small town. First came the families from the trailer park, then the elderly couple whose medical bills had eaten their savings, then the young mother whose husband was deployed overseas. Each Sunday, the crowd grew larger. Sam moved among them, filling plates and listening to stories. She learned names, remembered children's favorites, celebrated small victories. Jace worked quietly in the background, fixing chairs, carrying heavy pots, keeping the coffee flowing. Sometimes their eyes would meet across the room, and something warm would pass between them. One Sunday, Pastor John Miller appeared at their door, his kind face creased with interest. He watched as Sam organized the food distribution with gentle efficiency, as Jace helped an elderly man to his seat, as Lily distributed hand-drawn place cards. "This is quite something you've built here," the pastor said, accepting a bowl of chicken soup. Sam blushed. "We're just trying to help where we can." "Would you consider sharing your story with the congregation?" Pastor Miller asked. "People need to hear about hope like this." Sam's hand trembled slightly as she set down the ladle. "Oh, I don't know. I'm not much of a speaker." "You should do it." Jace's deep voice surprised them both. He'd approached silently, carrying a fresh pot of coffee. "Your story matters, Sam." She looked up at him, finding unexpected encouragement in his steady gaze. "You really think so?" "I know so." The following Sunday, Sam stood behind the church podium, her hands clasped tightly together. The wooden pews were filled with familiar faces, some from their Sunday meals, others who had witnessed her humiliation at the altar months ago. Jace sat in the back row, Lily beside him, both offering silent support. "I never thought I'd stand in a church again," Sam began, her voice barely above a whisper. "The last time I did, I learned how little I was worth to someone I thought loved me." The congregation was silent, listening. "I ran away that day, feeling worthless, unlovable." Sam's voice grew stronger. "But God had other plans. He led me to people who showed me that love isn't about size or appearance. It's about seeing worth in others, even when they can't see it in themselves." She described the Sunday meals, the community that had grown around their table, the healing that came from serving others. "When no one wanted me, God still did," she concluded, tears glinting in her eyes. "He took my shame and turned it into purpose." Throughout the sanctuary, people dabbed at their eyes. Pastor Miller stepped forward to pray, his voice thick with emotion. After the service, as people filed out, Sam noticed Jace slip away toward the parking lot. She followed, worried about his sudden departure, but stopped short when she saw the group of men waiting by their motorcycles. "Well, well," one of them sneered, his leather vest displaying Hell's Angels patches. "Look who's playing church boy now." "Leave it, Snake," Jace warned, his stance shifting subtly into defense mode. "Club's wondering what happened to you, brother," another man spoke up. "Used to be our best enforcer. Now you're feeding poor folks and holding hands with Fatso?" Sam pressed herself against the church wall, heart pounding, as Jace stepped closer to the men. "I'm done," he said quietly, dangerously. "Done riding dirty, done hurting people. Find someone else to do your dirty work." Snake spat on the ground. "Ain't that simple, Hollister? You know too much. Club doesn't take kindly to traitors." "I'm not betraying anyone," Jace's voice remained level. "I'm just choosing a different path." "Everything comes with a price," Snake warned, mounting his bike. "Remember that." The bikers roared away, leaving behind a cloud of dust and tension. Sam watched as Jace stood motionless, his shoulders rigid with contained anger. Later that night, after Sam and Lily had gone to bed, Jace made his final round of the property. The moon cast long shadows across the porch as he checked the locks. Something metallic caught his eye near the welcome mat, a single bullet casing, placed deliberately where he would find it. Jace picked it up, feeling its weight in his palm. The threat was clear enough. He glanced toward the window where he knew Sam slept peacefully, unaware of the danger circling their sanctuary. Pocketing the casing, he moved silently through the house, checking windows and doors again. Sleep wouldn't come easily tonight, but he would stand guard. The life they were building here, the meals, the community, the healing, was worth protecting. In the quiet darkness, Jace settled into a chair by the window, his weathered hands clasped together, eyes alert for any movement in the shadows. The night stretched long before him, but he would keep watch, carrying the weight of unspoken threats, so Sam could continue spreading her light without fear. Dawn painted the Arizona sky in soft pinks and golds, but the peaceful morning shattered with Lily's terrified screams. Sam bolted upright in her bed, heart pounding. The acrid smell of smoke filled her nostrils. "Fire! Uncle Jace! Fire!" Lily's shrieks echoed through the ranch house. Sam stumbled into the hallway, nearly colliding with Jace as he burst from his room. His eyes were wild with fear. "Get Lily out," he commanded, already running toward the back door. The sight that greeted them was horrifying. Orange flames licked up the side of the barn, hungry tongues of fire consuming the dry wood. Black smoke billowed into the morning sky. Inside, they could hear the panicked whinnying of horses and frightened bleating of goats. "The animals!" Sam cried, rushing forward in her nightgown. Jace was already ahead of her, throwing open the barn doors. Heat blasted their faces as smoke poured out. The horses reared in terror, their eyes rolling white. Sam grabbed the lead rope of the nearest horse, while Jace fought to control another. Together, they guided the frightened animals into the paddock. "The goats!" Sam coughed, diving back toward the barn. Her lungs burned as she stumbled through the smoke. She found the goats huddled in their pen, bleating in terror. One by one, she pushed them toward the door, praying the roof would hold. Outside, neighbors began arriving, drawn by the smoke and commotion. Someone had called the fire department. The whine of sirens grew closer as bucket brigades formed, passing water from the well to throw on the flames. "Sam!" Jace's voice cut through the chaos. "Get back!" A support beam groaned overhead. Sam dove through the doorway just as it crashed down behind her, sending up a shower of sparks. Jace caught her arm, steadying her as she coughed and gasped. "The chickens!" she wheezed. "In the coop!" "I got them," a neighbor called out. "They're safe." For what felt like hours, they battled the flames. The fire truck arrived, joining the fight with powerful hoses. Lily watched from the safety of a neighbor's arms, tears streaking her smoke-smudged face. Finally, the last flames sputtered out, leaving behind a charred skeleton of their beloved barn. The morning sun rose fully on a scene of destruction. The barn's roof had partially collapsed, and one wall was completely gone. The air still shimmered with heat, and the acrid smell of smoke hung heavy. But they had saved the animals, and the fire hadn't reached the house. Sheriff Dan Holt's truck pulled up as they were assessing the damage. He stepped out, his face grim as he surveyed the scene. "This wasn't no accident," he said, crouching to examine a patch of scorched earth. "Smell that? Accelerant. Someone wanted this place to burn." Jace's jaw tightened. He didn't need to speak. They all knew who was responsible. The bullet casing on the porch had been just the beginning. "We'll look into it," the sheriff continued, though his tone suggested he didn't expect much cooperation from the biker gang. But without witnesses, Sam watched Jace's face, saw the guilt and anger warring there. She touched his arm gently. "This isn't your fault." Throughout the day, a steady stream of townspeople arrived at the ranch. They brought lumber, tools, food, and donations. The same community that had once whispered about the fat bride and the biker now rallied around them with open hearts. Mrs. Martinez from the bakery brought fresh bread and soup. "For strength," she said, hugging Sam tight. The hardware store owner donated supplies for repairs. Even Pastor Miller came with his toolbox and a group of church volunteers. Sam moved among them all, accepting their help with tears of gratitude. She hugged each person, whispering prayers of thanks. These people, who had once been strangers, had become family. As the sun began to set, the community's efforts had already made a difference. The debris was cleared away, and the framework for repairs was taking shape. People began heading home, promising to return tomorrow. Sam found Jace sitting alone on the porch steps, staring at the damaged barn. She settled beside him, their shoulders touching. "You're not fighting this alone anymore," she said softly. "Look at all these people who came today. They care about you, about what we're doing here." Jace was quiet for a long moment. "Haven't deserved that kind of care in a long time," he finally said. They moved to the old wooden swing in the yard, watching as the first stars appeared. The night was cool, and the smell of smoke still lingered, but somehow it felt peaceful. "I haven't prayed since Afghanistan," Jace admitted suddenly. "Saw too much over there, did too much. Figured God wouldn't want to hear from me anymore." Sam's heart ached at the pain in his voice. Without hesitation, she reached for his hand. His fingers were rough, calloused, but they closed around hers with surprising gentleness. "Dear Lord," she began softly, her voice carrying in the quiet night. "Thank you for protecting us today. Thank you for our neighbors and their generous hearts. Please help Jace feel your presence and know that you never stopped loving him, even when he stopped talking to you. Give us strength to rebuild, not just this barn, but our lives. Amen." Jace's hand tightened on hers, and they sat in comfortable silence as more stars filled the sky. The next morning dawned clear and bright. Embers still smoked in the barnyard, but the air felt fresh with possibility. Sam came out to find Jace already at work, measuring boards for repairs. Without a word, she picked up a hammer and joined him. Side by side they worked, passing tools, holding boards steady, their movements falling into natural rhythm. Sometimes their hands would brush, or their eyes would meet, and something unspoken passed between them. The love growing between them was like the building itself, steady, strong, built piece by piece with care and patience. The animals grazed peacefully in the paddock, chickens scratched in the dirt, and Lily's laughter rang out as she helped sort nails. Despite the destruction of yesterday, hope bloomed in the morning light. They were rebuilding more than just a barn. They were building a future together. The weeks following the fire brought an unexpected peace to the ranch. Each morning, Sam woke to the gentle Arizona sunrise streaming through her window, and the smell of coffee brewing downstairs. She'd grown to love these quiet moments, padding down to the kitchen where Jace would already be sitting at the worn wooden table, his hands wrapped around a steaming mug. "Morning," he'd say softly, sliding a cup her way. They didn't need many words anymore. Their comfortable silence spoke volumes. The kitchen had become their sanctuary. While Sam baked, Jace would help Lily with her reading, his deep voice patient as she sounded out words from her favorite storybooks. Sometimes Sam would catch him watching her as she kneaded dough or stirred cake batter, his eyes soft with something that made her heart flutter. Their evenings settled into a sweet routine. After dinner, they'd gather on the wraparound porch, where Jace would strum his old guitar while Lily sang along. Sam would rock in the creaky swing, watching the desert sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, feeling more at home than she ever had in her life. One particular morning, Sam was elbow-deep in pie dough when Jace came in from his morning chores. "Town fair's coming up," he said, leaning against the counter. "Heard they're having their annual baking contest." Sam shook her head, dusting flour from her hands. "Oh, I don't know about that. People in town still talk about me, you know." "Let them talk," Jace replied. His voice held that quiet conviction that always made her feel braver. Your pies could win any contest in Arizona. Lily bounced in her chair. Please enter, Miss Sam. Your apple pie is the best in the whole world. Sam felt warmth spread through her chest at their faith in her. Still, memories of judgment and whispers made her hesitate. I'll think about it, she promised, though she had no real intention of entering. The morning of the fair arrived bright and clear. Sam was surprised when Jace insisted they all go, even though she hadn't entered the contest. The fairgrounds buzzed with activity. Carnival rides spun against the blue sky, children clutched cotton candy, and the air smelled of popcorn and grilled corn. As they walked through the crowd, Sam noticed something different. Instead of the usual whispers and stares, people smiled and waved. Mrs. Martinez from the bakery hugged her. The hardware store owner stopped to chat about the ranch repairs. Even some of the church ladies who had once gossiped about her now asked for her cornbread recipe. Time for the baking contest results! The announcer's voice boomed over the speakers. Sam started to turn away, but Jace gently steered her toward the judging tent. And the blue ribbon for Best in Show goes to... The judge paused dramatically. Samantha Boyd for her classic apple pie. Sam froze. What? But I didn't... She turned to Jace, who was grinning. I might have snuck that pie you made yesterday into the contest, he admitted, under your name. The crowd erupted in cheers as Sam was pushed forward to accept her ribbon. Tears pricked her eyes as she looked out at the smiling faces. Even Sheriff Holt stood at the back, giving her a grudging nod of approval. Speech, someone called out. Sam clutched her ribbon, her voice shaking slightly. I want to thank everyone who's shown such kindness to me these past months. When I thought I had lost everything, God led me to a place where I found so much more. Her eyes met Jace's across the crowd, and the love she saw there took her breath away. The rest of the afternoon passed in a happy blur. They rode the Ferris wheel, watched Lily win a stuffed bear at the ring toss, and shared funnel cake dusted with powdered sugar. As the sun began to set, Sam felt truly happy, completely, perfectly happy, for the first time in years. They were loading up the truck to head home when 2 patrol cars pulled up, lights flashing. Deputy Wilson and Deputy Rogers stepped out, their faces grim. Jace Hollister, Deputy Wilson called out, holding up a piece of paper. We have a warrant to search your vehicle. Sam's stomach dropped as she watched them circle the truck. Lily pressed against her side, trembling. What's this about? Jace demanded, but his face showed he already knew. Deputy Rogers yanked back the tarp in the truck bed, revealing several firearms tucked beneath. Well, look what we have here. Those aren't mine, Jace growled. You know damn well. But they were already pulling his arms behind his back, the handcuffs clicking shut. Sam watched in horror as they read him his rights, her perfect day shattering like glass. Don't believe them, Sam, Jace shouted as they dragged him toward the patrol car. It's a setup. Take care of Lily. Sam stood rooted to the spot, holding Lily as she sobbed into her skirt. She watched helplessly as they drove away with Jace, the patrol car's red and blue lights growing smaller until they disappeared into the gathering darkness. Later that night, after finally getting Lily to sleep, Sam stood alone in the darkened kitchen. The blue ribbon from her pie victory was still clutched in her trembling hand, a cruel reminder of how quickly joy could turn to ashes. The clock on the wall ticked loudly in the silence, marking time in a world that had suddenly gone terribly wrong. The morning after Jace's arrest dawned cold and gray. Sam stood at the ranch's kitchen window, watching the sun struggle to break through heavy clouds. Her hands trembled as she poured cereal for Lily, who hadn't spoken since watching her uncle being taken away. At the general store, Whispers followed Sam down every aisle. Mrs. Peterson, who'd hugged her at church just last Sunday, now clutched her purse tighter and hurried past. The checkout clerk barely met her eyes while ringing up their groceries. "I heard he was dealing guns all along," a voice carried from the next aisle. "Poor thing probably didn't even know who she was living with," another responded. Sam's cheeks burned, but she held her head high. "Come on, Lily," she said softly, taking the little girl's hand. "Let's go home." The ranch felt emptier without Jace. Sam threw herself into the daily chores, feeding chickens, fixing fences, cleaning stalls. Her muscles ached, unused to such heavy work, but the physical pain was better than sitting still with her thoughts. Each evening, after tucking Lily in, Sam sat at the kitchen table with paper and pen. "Dear Jace," she would write, pouring out her heart about missing him, about Lily's silence, about her faith that truth would prevail. But the letters piled up in her drawer, unsent. The jail wouldn't accept them without approved visiting privileges. On the third day, those privileges finally came through. Sam drove to the county jail, her heart pounding as she passed through security. The visiting room was stark and cold, with metal chairs bolted to the floor. When they brought Jace in, Sam's breath caught. A dark bruise shadowed his jaw, and he moved stiffly, favoring his right side. But his eyes, those were what broke her heart. They held a defeat she'd never seen before. "You shouldn't be here," he said roughly, sitting across from her. "Take Lily and go. Start fresh somewhere else." "No." Sam leaned forward, her voice firm despite her trembling hands. "You listen to me, Jace Hollister. That night on the highway, when everyone else saw a crying mess in a wedding dress, you saw someone worth saving. You claimed me then and there." She reached across the table, stopping just short of touching him. Contact wasn't allowed. "Well, now I'm claiming you. Whatever this is, we'll face it together." Something flickered in Jace's eyes, a spark of his old strength. His mouth twitched in what might have been the ghost of a smile, the first she'd seen since his arrest. "You're something else, you know that?" "I learned from the best," she replied softly. The guard called time too soon. Sam watched them lead Jace away, her heart heavy but her resolve stronger than ever. In the courthouse parking lot, she couldn't hold back anymore. She sank to her knees on the hot asphalt, not caring who might see. "Please, Lord," she prayed aloud, tears streaming down her face. "Show me how to help him. Show me the way forward. I know you brought us together for a reason. Please don't let it end like this." "Amen," a gentle voice added. Sam looked up to find a woman in her 50s standing nearby, her kind face creased with concern. "I'm Rebecca Miller, Pastor John's wife," she introduced herself, helping Sam to her feet. "And I believe God meant for me to hear that prayer." "I don't know what to do," Sam admitted, wiping her eyes. "I know he's innocent, but I can't prove it." Rebecca squeezed her hand. "Then let's prove it together. I've lived in this town 40 years. I know every skeleton in every closet, and I've never believed Jace Hollister went back to his old ways. Something's not right about this whole situation." For the first time in 3 days, hope flickered in Sam's chest. She wasn't alone anymore. God had heard her prayer and sent help in the form of this steady, determined woman who believed in Jace's innocence. "Thank you," Sam whispered, squeezing Rebecca's hand back. "Where do we start?" Rebecca Miller's kitchen table became command central for their investigation. Sam spread out notebooks, town maps, and lists of witnesses while Rebecca made endless pots of coffee. They worked methodically, piecing together the puzzle of what really happened. "Start with the children," Rebecca suggested, stirring honey into her tea. They see everything, but adults rarely listen to them. Sam visited the trailer park kids who came for meals at the ranch. 10-year-old Tommy Martinez remembered seeing strange men lurking near the property the night before the fire. They weren't regular bikers, he said, drawing patterns in the dirt with a stick. They talked to that mean deputy, the sheriff's nephew. Other children confirmed Tommy's story. 8-year-old Rosa had seen Deputy Kyle Holt's patrol car parked behind the abandoned gas station with 2 motorcycles late at night. He was giving them something in a brown paper bag, she whispered. Sam's heart raced. Deputy Holt had been at the ranch during the arrest, smirking as they found the weapons in Jace's truck. She and Rebecca carefully approached townspeople who might know more. Old Mr. Jenkins, who ran the hardware store, admitted he'd seen Deputy Holt meeting with known members of Jace's former club multiple times. "Never sat right with me," he muttered. "But who's going to challenge the sheriff's nephew?" The pieces started falling into place. Deputy Kyle Holt was working with the bikers, probably helping them avoid arrest in exchange for money. When Jace refused to rejoin their illegal activities, they decided to frame him. "We need proof," Rebecca said firmly. "Testimonies aren't enough, not against law enforcement." Sam knew she was right. That's when she remembered something Jace had mentioned. The sheriff's office had security cameras covering the impound lot where they kept seized vehicles. If Deputy Holt planted those weapons, Sam reasoned, it would be on tape. Rebecca's face paled. "Sam, breaking into the sheriff's office would be incredibly dangerous. So is letting an innocent man go to prison." Sam squared her shoulders. "I have to try." She spent 3 days watching the station, learning the patterns of who came and went. Deputy Holt always worked the night shift on Thursdays. He typically spent most of it napping in his patrol car behind the building. On Thursday night, Sam parked her car 2 blocks away and walked through the shadows. Her heart thundered so loudly she was sure someone would hear it. The back door's lock was broken, another detail from Jace's time working with law enforcement. She slipped inside, her rubber-soled shoes silent on the linoleum. The security office was empty, just as she'd prayed it would be. Her hands shook as she located the correct hard drive and plugged in her USB drive. The file transfer seemed to take forever. Every footstep in the hallway made her freeze. Suddenly, voices approached. Sam ducked under the desk, holding her breath. Through the gap under the door, she saw 2 pairs of boots stop right outside. "Just gonna grab some coffee," one voice said. The boots moved on. Sam's legs were cramping by the time the file finished copying. She quickly disconnected everything and erased signs of her presence. The escape felt like walking through molasses, each step carefully placed. She was almost to the back door when a flashlight beam cut through the darkness. Deputy Holt's voice rang out. "Who's there?" Sam pressed herself against the wall, barely breathing. The beam swept past her hiding spot once, twice. Then Deputy Holt's radio crackled with a call about a disturbance across town. After what felt like hours, his footsteps retreated. She ran all the way back to her car, shaking so hard she could barely get the key in the ignition. The USB drive felt like it was burning a hole in her pocket. At home, Lily was waiting up despite Rebecca's attempts to get her to sleep. The little girl's eyes were huge with worry. "It's okay, sweetheart." Sam gathered her close, breathing in the scent of her shampoo. "I got what we needed. Tomorrow we're bringing your uncle home." That night, Sam could hardly sleep. She washed her best dress, the blue one she'd worn to church that first Sunday with Jace. It had to be ironed twice before the wrinkles surrendered. As dawn broke over the desert, Sam stood in front of the mirror, USB drive clutched in her trembling hand. She looked different somehow, stronger, despite the dark circles under her eyes. Love had changed her, had given her courage she never knew she possessed. "Time to go, Lily," she called softly. "Let's go help Uncle Jace." The courthouse buzzed with tension as Sam approached the judge's bench. Her blue dress felt too tight, but she stood tall, holding the USB drive like a shield. "Your Honor, I have evidence that proves Jace Hollister was framed," she said, her voice stronger than she felt. The security footage played on the courtroom screen. Everyone watched as Deputy Kyle Holt clearly snuck the weapons into Jace's truck the night before the arrest. Gasps echoed through the room. The deputy's face turned ash white. Sheriff Dan Holt stood frozen, watching his nephew's crimes unfold in stark black and white. Two officers immediately moved to take Deputy Kyle into custody. I apologize," Sheriff Holt announced, his voice rough with shame. He turned to face Jace. "We were wrong. You're free to go." The crowd erupted in cheers. Pastor Miller stood up, his voice carrying over the noise. "This is what courage looks like, folks. Sam Boyd showed us that faith and love can overcome any darkness." Outside, the autumn sun painted the courthouse steps golden. Lily broke free from Rebecca's hold and ran straight into Jace's arms. Sam hung back, watching them embrace, until Jace looked up and saw her. In 3 long strides, he reached her. His strong arms lifted her clean off her feet in a crushing hug. "You didn't just save me," he whispered against her hair. "You saved me from who I used to be." That evening, they drove home to find the ranch transformed. Paper lanterns and fairy lights crisscrossed the rebuilt barn. Cars lined the driveway, and the air smelled of barbecue and fresh-baked pies. The whole town had shown up. Store owners, farmers, even some of the courthouse staff. Children chased fireflies while their parents set up tables groaning with food. Jace disappeared briefly and returned with his old leather jacket, the one he'd worn when he first found Sam on that dusty road. Without a word, he walked to the fire pit and tossed it in. The flames leaped higher, consuming the symbol of his past. "No more ghosts," he said simply. Sam slipped her hand into his, feeling the calluses on his palm. Behind them, the fire crackled and sparked, but neither of them looked back. Their hearts beat steady and sure, finally in rhythm with each other and the peaceful night. A month drifted by like a gentle breeze across the desert. The ranch had become a haven of peace, filled with morning songs from the chickens and evening prayers around the dinner table. Jace's veteran repair shop, Second Chance Motors, quickly became a fixture in town. The garage echoed with the sounds of wrenches turning and men laughing, former soldiers finding purpose again through honest work. He understood their haunted eyes and shaking hands, offering them not just jobs, but brotherhood. Sam's community kitchen, Grace Haven, flourished beside St. Mark's Church. The same chapel where she'd once faced humiliation now witnessed daily miracles of kindness. Her fresh-baked bread and warm smile drew people from all walks of life, healing hearts one meal at a time. On a particularly golden evening, Jace surprised Sam with his Harley parked outside the kitchen. "Take a ride with me?" he asked, holding out his spare helmet. The familiar rumble of the motorcycle carried them down the desert highway, past saguaro cacti, standing like sentinels in the fading light. Sam recognized the spot before they stopped, the same stretch of road where her old car had broken down all those months ago. The setting sun painted the sky in shades of pink and gold, just like that first evening. Jace helped her off the bike, then knelt in the soft sand. His hands trembled slightly as he pulled a small ring from his leather jacket. The simple diamond caught the last rays of sunlight, sparkling like hope itself. "You were never unwanted," he said softly, his voice rough with emotion. "You just hadn't been seen yet." Tears spilled down Sam's cheeks as she nodded, unable to speak. He slipped the ring onto her finger, and it felt like coming home. The ride back to the ranch was pure joy, the wind carrying their laughter across the desert. Lily's excited squeals greeted them at the gate, her small face glowing with happiness. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Sam's heart overflowed with gratitude. Sometimes God sends angels on iron horses, she mused silently, watching Jace lift Lily into his arms. Rough, scarred, and unexpected, to show us what love really means. Thank you for listening. Stories connect us in the most unexpected ways. If you felt that spark today, make sure you're subscribed. I share a new one daily, and the next might change your day.